Welcome to the Josh Dupuis Football Podcast. Here's your host, Josh Dupuis.
Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of the Josh Dupuis Football Podcast. I am Josh Dupuis and I am joined again today by Mike Hugall. How's it going, Mike?
It's going good, Josh. Round 2 here, the Josh Dupuis Football Podcast. Glad to be a part of it. Going to look at the world inside the AFC and got a little bit of a quarterback swap here going on in the NFC as well.
Our producer behind the glass today will be Justin Prince. What's up, Justin?
Not much, Josh. Last week's broadcast was great. This week is going to be just as good, so let's have a good broadcast.
Now, there are a few different ways to get a hold of the show. 1, on Twitter at the JDFP. 2, by emailing thejdfp@gmail.com. 3, by commenting on this video on our YouTube channel, where we also ask you to hit that like button and subscribe. And finally, our new addition this week, iTunes. You can get there by searching the Josh Dupuis Football Podcast. Now, today we will be going to the other side of the NFL and tell you who will make the playoffs in the AFC. We will also give you our Week 15 picks, but first, let's get into some news of the week.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Cannonball!
There's a lot of news this week involving cannonballs as well, and we're going to start off with your injury news. In that injury news, Brandon Marshall's season is over after being placed on the injury reserve. The Bears wide receiver was diagnosed with broken ribs and a collapsed lung after a hit he took in their loss Thursday to the Cowboys. Cam Newton suffered fractures in his back after a 2-car accident Tuesday in Charlotte. Derek Anderson will be starting in his place. Jadeveon Clowney underwent microfracture surgery on his right knee on Monday and will also be sidelined himself for the next 9 months. Meanwhile, for the Atlanta Falcons, head coach Mike Smith declined an offer to update for Julio Jones' hip, only saying he was sore and that he hoped he'd be ready for Week 15. Eddie Lacy was taken out of their game as well for the Green Bay Packers with a hip bruise at the end of the Packers' win Monday night. Mike McCarthy said he doesn't have a high concern for it, and pulling Lacy from the game was more of a precautionary move. And lastly, for the Kansas City Chiefs, safety Eric Berry was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. The team had announced his possible diagnosis 2 weeks earlier. And now we have some more news as well. Sean Payton promised some changes in New Orleans this week after a meltdown loss against Carolina, and he has kept that promise. First, he is now waiving wide receiver Joseph Morgan and is now deciding to bench safety Kenny Vaccaro. In your opinion, guys, Josh and Mike, is this the right move for a team that can still win the NFC South?
Well, first, Justin, I want to start by just, commenting on the Eric Berry Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yeah, that's, it's a tough move for any player in the NFL, especially they battle so hard, and I know the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be rallying around him. So, definitely our condolences to Eric Berry and his family as they go through this time. However, on to that question right there, is this the right move for a team who can still win the NFC South? You know what? Sean Payton is going to do what he wants to do. Obviously, Joseph Morgan isn't and in any way a piece to that offense that is crucial. You know what? You want to talk about, making that team better? Get Jimmy Graham more targets because he has been without a fantasy point for 2 weeks straight. That's something that you have to incorporate the best offensive weapon in your offense, in the game. And Kenny Vaccaro, look, that New Orleans Saints secondary is shoddy. That whole defense is shoddy. So benching one player to kind of, make up for a defense that's not very good in the first place, that's okay by me. I don't think it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, I agree with. They definitely needed to make some moves. Maybe they might not be making the right moves. Like you said, Jimmy Graham definitely needs to be targeted more. Your best player on your team needs to touch the ball. The thing that's hard with it is Kenny Vaccaro is basically their only healthy safety. They've already lost Raphael Bush and Jarius Byrd for the season,
Yep.
So it makes it hard. But really, how much worse can their team really get? I know I saw a quote that he was saying that he's pulling up because of how aggressive he's been and not sticking to the system, and it's burned them a couple times, and it's a message you need to get through, especially for a struggling team. Are they good enough to even do anything in the playoffs anyway? I don't think so. So this move, I really don't think it can hurt much.
Me neither. Next.
All right, so as well for the Cleveland Browns now in the AFC North, if I'm correct.
Yes, you are.
Mike Putin decided that Johnny Manziel will get the start this week for the Browns this week against the Bengals. Of course, the Browns have gone 1-3 in their past 4 games with Brian Hoyer as the starter. In that stretch, Hoyer has thrown 1 touchdown and 8 interceptions during that stretch. What do you guys expect from Johnny Football from Texas A&M this week?
I expect them, the whole Cleveland Browns, to just come out fired up. I think that the fact, like you said, 1 touchdown and 8 interceptions during 4 games is just it's impossible to win that way. They almost beat the Colts with that. So it's a thing where I think Johnny Football is going to be able to extend the plays, do a little bit extra. More defenses are going to have to focus more on him. It's going to open up things to Josh Gordon. It can only benefit them, in my opinion.
Money Manziel, baby. Johnny Football's in the game, and this is what you needed. This is what you needed against the Colts. This is what you need at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. Johnny Football is the man. He is athleticism. He is a good, talented, smart quarterback who is going to take the shots downfield that Brian Hoyer didn't. Obviously, the numbers for Brian Hoyer are against him in this situation. 1 touchdown, 8 interceptions. Johnny Football is going to pose as a dual-threat quarterback, and he is going to bring this team to a 9-7 finishing record. Is that going to be, good enough to get them into the playoffs? We're going to find out later in the show, but definitely Mike Putin is, you know what? I think he's fine.
Yeah, what's funny is last week you were on the bandwagon for wanting him to or Johnny Manziel to start, and if you listen back to when we did the picks, I said that it was going to be Brian Hoyer's last game for Cleveland. So great tidbits by our podcast. You listen and you figure things out.
He's a Nostradamus, people. What's next, Justin?
All right, so first of all, it's Peyton. It's knock on both of us, Mike and I. So
well, you were Canadian, so it definitely wasn't poutine there, Justin.
Okay, so anyway, now speaking of Manziel, the head coach of the Bengals, Marvin Lewis, kind of caused a controversy because he had to just issue an apology for his comments on a radio show Monday night where he referred to Manziel as a midget. What do you guys think the NFL should do about this?
Let it go. Honestly, I think it's a storyline that is going to be made out to be more than it is. I mean, he was probably referring to his size as a quarterback in the league. Obviously, it's a term that's deemed derogatory and socially unacceptable.
Yeah, wrong choice of words.
The wrong choice of words for sure. But I mean, you can say same thing about Drew Brees for being his size. I think that the NFL should let it go. I think that it's one of those things. Definitely Marvin Lewis said the wrong thing at the wrong time, and you know what? That's what I feel.
Yeah, I think he said it in a joking way, not to hurt anybody, or it's not like he went out to make fun of short people type thing.
Right.
He was saying it trying to be funny. I think he will probably be fined in some kind of way because they don't want any backlash. The NFL doesn't want backlash saying like, oh, you're just allowing all your coaches to say whatever they want about midgets, so or short people, whatever
people, yeah.
Whatever the proper way to say it is. So he'll probably get fined.
I'm thinking it's going to be the same thing as when Cam Newton called Ndamukong Suh Donkey Kong Sue. Maybe a slap on the wrist,
yeah,
a little fine, nothing major.
I don't see it being anything huge, yeah.
Okay, so we have one more last thing here. Of course, there's a few weeks left in the season, about 3-4 weeks, give or take. Who do you guys think deserves to win this year's MVP trophy?
Wow, that is tough. If I have to give anybody the MVP trophy, I have to go with Houston Texans defensive lineman J.J. Watt. Mm-hmm. J.J. Watt has had a remarkable season. He's posed as a dual threat both on the offensive and defensive side of the football, something that is unheard of in the NFL right now. So I think I'm going to give it to J.J. Watt.
We had hit on it a little bit last week too, that J.J. Watt he's basically the most valuable player. It's hard when a quarterback is so much more valuable to a team than a defensive end. So a lot of people are going to look at Aaron Rodgers, but the separation between him and the next best defensive end it's just insane. He's Aaron Rodgers. There goes Aaron Rodgers, and then close behind him is Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, all that. But when you look at J.J. Watt, it's who's really behind him is doing as well as him.
Well, I mean, you want to look at his numbers right now. In his career, he's had 51 sacks. He's had 11 forced fumbles, but this year alone, 3 forced fumbles, 1 interception, 14 and a half sacks. He is the guy on that Houston Texans defensive front that is, changed the game for him. Obviously, he's had 4 touchdowns offensively, and he had an 80-yard interception return. I mean, talk about game changers. Aaron Rodgers a game changer, but without him, that Green Bay Packers is still playing in one of the worst divisions in football. I'm not saying that, without him would make a difference, but if the Houston Texans did not have J.J. Watt, their defense would suffer tremendously.
In my opinion, it comes down to those two, Aaron Rodgers and J.J. Watt, but if you look at the pieces around Aaron Rodgers, he has receivers. He has a line that's giving him so much time. He has Eddie Lacy running for him for yards, and to me, it's J.J. Watt on that defense, and then like Brian Cushing, but he's been hurt. That's basically it. Like
J.J. Watt is that defensive front, and Jonathan Joseph's been a great cornerback in the secondary ever since he got there. And you're right, Aaron Rodgers has the Jordy Nelsons, the Randall Cobbs. Eddie Lacy has proven to be one of, if not the most effective all-purpose back in the NFL. Going along with guys like Le'Veon Bell, Jamal Charles, Eddie Lacy. In his short time with the Green Bay Packers, it's his second year in the league, I believe. It's absolutely ridiculous the strides he's making. So I'm gonna go with J.J. Watt. You're gonna go Watt as well?
Yeah, I'd go Watt as well. And I just think at one point in the season, a couple weeks ago, he had more touchdowns than Calvin Johnson, LaShawn McCoy, all these different things. And it's like he's the fact that he's a dual threat offense and defense in the red zone, it's crazy.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys for J.J. Watt for MVP. In fact, his 5 touchdowns so far this season, I think it's the first time anybody in that position has had 5 touchdowns on defense for both offense and defense since the 1940s. I read that since 1946, 1948.
I mean, it's not like the old school New England Patriots. They just throw the ball to Mike Vrabel on the goal line. But it's definitely something that has to be. If you have a guy 6'5", 200+ pounds that can come in and play goal line packages and line up on the outside, why not utilize it? So I like what the Houston Texans are doing.
What sucks to me, though, is I feel like it's such a quarterback league that everybody looks at the quarterback as the most important, which they are. They're really important. They touch the ball every single play for the most part. So I think it's gonna be given to Aaron Rodgers or strongly considered. But if it was my vote, I'd go with J.J. Watt.
Okay, so of course last episode you guys discussed the NFC standings and your predictions for the playoff seeds. This week you guys have mentioned, and we are talking about the AFC seeding. So we're going to start off with the AFC East. What is your opinion on the AFC East, guys?
I'm going to start this one off, and I'm going to go with the Pats winning that division. It's not...
it's pretty easy.
That's a pretty easy pick, and they're going to win it. I really want to touch on the Dolphins and the Bills. They've had a great season thus far, definitely better than most people would expect. So I'm going to go Pats at 13-3. They're going to win out. Dolphins and Bills, although they are 7-6, they're both going to lose out. I'm going to go they're 7-9, both of them. So and then the Jets are irrelevant at this point. So we're good.
See, I have the same thing for the Patriots, 13-3. But when it comes to the Dolphins and the Bills, the games they're not going to matter as much at the end. So it depends what team comes out. You could be right. They could lose out completely. I have the Dolphins winning 2 of the games against the Vikings and the Jets, but losing to the Patriots. 9-7 is not going to be enough for the playoffs, but we'll figure that out in a few minutes. The Bills I got winning against the Raiders, but losing to the Packers and the Patriots. It's a hard finish to the season for both of them, really. So.
It's tough. Yeah. I mean, whenever you have to go up against divisional opponents, especially a team like the New England Patriots, who just seem to be unstoppable, that offense is clicking. Rob Gronkowski is so close to 1,000 yards receiving on the season. And, Tom Brady proving time in and time out that he is touchdown Tom. He is the go-to guy if not in the AFC, in the NFL. So, yeah, let's say that's our predictions for the AFC East.
All right, so now is the AFC South. Of course, the Bengals, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Baltimore, all in contention, you guys. What are your opinions so far?
I believe you meant AFC North.
AFC North,
Yes.
possibly, sorry.
But yeah, so we'll just start out with the Bengals. In my opinion, the Bengals are the most overrated team. A lot of people are thinking that they're this contender for the playoffs. They're gonna win the division and everything. But if you just look simply at their schedule this year, and I know you can't really fault them for who they play, but the three teams, in my opinion, that they played that are good are the New England Patriots, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Every single one of them, they lost by 20 or more points. Indianapolis, they didn't even score a point. The games they won this season, Atlanta, Tennessee, Jacksonville, New Orleans, Houston, Tampa Bay, and a tie to Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, you're also playing the lousiest division in football in the NFC South. Mm-hmm. So I think you're right. No, you can't fault them. However, you know what? I think the Cincinnati Bengals, are they the most overrated team in that division? No. I mean, 8-4-1. They would be tied for that division lead if it wasn't for the tie to Carolina.
Yeah.
So I'd go, anyway, that's my opinion. Finish your thought.
Well, to me, it's just you can only play who you're given, but when you're given three good teams, and you can't even come close to beating them, it just shows the type of team you are. If you can't get up for the big teams, and how are you going to win any playoff games? But anyway, I got them losing out completely the next three games. Lost to the Browns, to the Broncos, and to the Steelers, finishing 8-7-1. What do you got for the Bengals?
I have the same thing for the Bengals. They're going to run into Johnny Manziel, who is looking to prove himself in that offense and as a weapon in the AFC North. So I got that. I got them losing to Denver. You think you're going to, although they are hosting Peyton Manning, you're not going to solve Peyton Manning. You're not going to solve that offense. Emmanuel Sanders hopefully will be a little bit healthier come that point to pose as a nice secondary option to Demaryius Thomas for Peyton. So look for that. And Pittsburgh has just been absolutely phenomenal. And I'm not saying
Le'Veon Bell, best running back in the NFL, I think, right now.
You know what, fantasy-wise, he's made owners really happy with, like I said, him, Eddie Lacy, Jamal Charles, and Matt Forte, a league of their own as all-purpose backs. So I think they're going to run into a hot Pittsburgh team at Heinz Field, 0-3 the rest of the way for the Bengals.
All right, so Pittsburgh I have winning out, actually, against Atlanta, Kansas City, and Cincinnati. Pittsburgh's faced basically the same schedule, but when they played Indianapolis, they actually beat them 51-34. So that's what I'm talking about. When you're playing against, you're given only a few good teams, you have to beat those teams. So yeah, what about you?
I'm a Steelers fan. I'm a Steelers guy. However, I don't think they're going to win out completely. I think they're going to lose a game to the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know. You know, the Steelers always seem to play like the most obscure teams so hard. Mm-hmm. You know, they'll come out and they'll have a statement win in Atlanta to kind of prove that they are the Super Bowl contenders. They are the playoff, they're the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, they'll go into a city like Tennessee and barely hold on and survive. And I think that's what's going to happen in Kansas City. They're going to run into Alex Smith and Jamal Charles. Pittsburgh is a team that is susceptible to the short passing game, and that is something that Alex Smith has mastered. You have a guy like Dwayne Bowe. You have Anthony Fasano and Travis Kelce. They're going to tear apart the secondary. So I'm going to go a loss to Kansas City. And then they're going to play a Cincinnati Bengals team who we just said is going to lose out at Heinz Field. You got to know that atmosphere is going to be rocking. I'm going to go Pittsburgh 2-1 the rest of the way. They're going to finish at 10-6.
All right, with Cleveland Browns, they play versus Cincinnati, at Carolina, at Baltimore. I have them winning out completely. I think that with Hoyer throwing, like we said, 1 touchdown, 8 interceptions, they were still coming out, playing hard. They were in every single game they basically played for the most part. I think it can only help with the extra jolt they're going to get from having Manziel, because I know that there was a couple players that were saying that when he came in, they just felt that extra excitement to go out and play. So yeah, I have them going 10-6, winning out.
I don't know if I'll say the Cleveland Browns will win out. They're going to finish the season at 9-7, I believe. I mean, in all respect, this is still a Cleveland Browns team that is subpar. Their defense is has only sacked the quarterback 27 times. They have a total of 580 tackles with 9 fumbles on the season. I just don't think that this is a team that is worth anything going into the playoffs. Obviously, they have the game against the Bengals, against the Carolina Panthers, and against the Baltimore Ravens. I think 9-7 is safe. I think they're going to beat Cincinnati. I think they're going to beat the Carolina Panthers. Or I'm sorry, I think they're going to lose against the Carolina Panthers. You're going to see Cam Newton come back in Carolina and just shred apart that Browns defense. And they're going to lose at Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium. So I like the fact that Manziel is going to get the time in. I know I said I think with Manziel the Cleveland Browns will make the playoffs, but you have to be realistic. Look at that run game. Terrence West and Isaiah Crowell. You really think this is a back tandem that's going to take a team to the playoffs?
Yeah, like Crowell's done pretty well, but
I mean Crowell's been okay. Like
he hasn't been nothing special, but
No.
I think it can only help having a mobile quarterback where the defense has to watch what he's going to do, and he's Johnny Football loves to run the ball. It could hurt them at times too, but he's gonna look to run for some touchdowns, some big yards. Hopefully he gets down because he is a tiny little guy.
Well, and that's the thing. Like this Cleveland Browns offense does not have a big game threat. I mean, you look at Brian Hoyer and the fact that his touchdown to interception ratio is pretty horrible. He's got a quarterback
terrible
rating of 76.3. Through 15 games this season. And then through 14 games this season. And then you look at, Isaiah Crowell. Yeah, he has 8 touchdowns, but none coming from 40-plus yards.
Yeah.
He's not a home run hitter, so to say, in on the ground. So I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna say 9-7. You know what? They're good. They're an up-and-coming team. They're a young team. Couple more pieces, and I think they'll be fine.
All right. Lastly, Baltimore. I have them going 9-7. Only lost to the Cleveland Browns. So. How about you?
You have the Baltimore Ravens at 9-7?
Yeah. Oh, no, wait. Yeah. A loss to Houston and a loss to Cleveland. Yeah. I have Baltimore going. I know that you have a complete different.
Yeah, I have a
opinion
complete
on that.
different. What's the rationale between the Baltimore Ravens 9-7? I just want to know.
I just feel when it comes to at the beginning of the season, first of all, I don't believe in Joe Flacco.
Okay.
I'm an Eagles fan, so I look at him like a Nick Foles type player, just a tall, slow quarterback.
Okay.
But their defense isn't as good as it was before. It's the best in the division, but I don't know. Just to me, just looking off of the way that the teams play, I think Houston's defense will be too much for Baltimore to be able to put up that many points in Houston. If it was in Baltimore, it'd be a different story. Cleveland, I'm just going off of the fact that they're going to have excitement going in with Manziel. I could be completely wrong. Manziel could be terrible when he comes in type thing, but
okay. Because I have, I want to talk about Joe Flacco, the $100 million man first. You see, you're comparing him to Nick Foles, and Nick Foles has been a pretty good quarterback last year. I mean, he's been injured all year.
Yeah, and I don't think Flacco's bad. I just think
you can think he's bad, and to say that he is kind of on the verge of being inconsistent, I think would be very wrong. 22 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, throwing for 3,200 yards this season. That is a little bit more than consistency. That is a good quarterback. This is a quarterback that, and we touched about it before the show, he has not had all the weapons necessary. Kamar Aiken has become a huge role in that offense, just like Marlon Brown was a big role in that offense last year. Torrey Smith has just gone down. No Dennis Pitta. Steve Smith started out hot, has cooled down since. So I think Joe Flacco's doing a great job. Justin Forsett has become a huge part of that offense. I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to finish out this season going 11-5. They're going to win out, and this is a team that knows playoff. They know big game, situations. Look at a guy like Terrell Suggs. Hopefully you're going to get a guy like Haloti Ngata back in the next couple weeks.
Yeah,
so
that'll hurt. That'll hurt them down the middle. The only receiver they have right now, like I know you said they have other ones, but to me, Steve Smith was the guy, but he hasn't been doing anything now. Torrey Smith just went down, so it's just, to me, it's the bad injuries at the bad time with Haloti Ngata, stuff, things like that are just, they could.
Yeah, no, I
it's
definitely,
it's gonna be close.
I can definitely see where you're coming with this. I'm just saying, Torrey Smith going down it hurts them a lot. 8 touchdowns this year. However, Steve Smith is still racking up the yards. Almost 900 yards this season, 889.
How much of that as of late, though? It hasn't been...
True. I mean, I understand, but this is where you really have to utilize a guy like Owen Daniels. Owen Daniels proved to be a great red zone threat for the Houston Texans the past couple years, and Kamar Aiken has stepped up. he has 22 receptions on the year to go along with a couple of touchdowns. So he's a guy that definitely has some home run power, averaging 11 and a half yards per reception. So, you know what? I think the Baltimore Ravens are just fine. You gotta lighten up, man. You gotta stop being a little bit so hard on them. They're the Ravens. All right, let's jump over to the AFC South, shall we?
Yeah, all right. Well, I think it's kind of obvious in this division. Indianapolis, I have them going 11-5. I personally, even though I'm a Cowboys hater, think that the Cowboys will beat them at home. They're going to need that win.
You're a Cowboys hater?
Because I'm an Eagles
No,
lover.
no one hates the
Nobody
Cowboys,
hates the Cowboys,
right? Nobody
They're America's
hates the
team, even though every single home game they have, not one Cowboys fan's there. It's the other team. But anyway, that's a story for another day. What do you got for Indy?
I have Indy at 11-5. I have them winning out. You're going to go up against the Houston, Dallas, and Tennessee team. I'm sorry, I do not have them winning out. I have them going 11-5. I have them going 2-1. They're going to beat the Houston Texans. They're going to lose to the Dallas Cowboys. They're at Dallas. Andrew Luck has been a little bit less than good against a team with a solid pass rush. The Dallas Cowboys, their secondary is atrocious. Orlando Scandrick and Morris Claiborne have to pick it up if this team wants to kind of contend, even be thought of as a relevant option in the NFC to, go to a Super Bowl. Obviously, they're in playoff contention right now, but the secondary needs to pick it up on these Colts receivers. And, being in Dallas and the fact that the Colts defense has looked pretty shoddy of late, I think that DeMarco Murray's going to give them a hard time. And so they're going to lose to the Cowboys, and then they're going to go into Tennessee and just clean house to finish off the season. So I'm thinking 11-5. As for the Houston Texans, I'm going to say Houston is going to finish this season at 8-8. They're going to go 1-2 the rest of the way. They're going to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. They're going to lose to the Baltimore Ravens, lose at Indianapolis. You know what? It's a valiant effort, and the fact that they've been able to go above 500 with quarterbacks like Ryan Mallett and Ryan Fitzpatrick is a very valiant effort. You have one of the best rushers in Arian Foster in the league. However, it's just not going to be enough to get it done.
Yeah, especially with Andre Johnson going down last week. I don't know how long he's going to miss with the concussion, but it's just one more piece. They've been hit with the injury bug this year.
Yep.
Houston, that is.
And you know what? The resurgence of a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, 1,000 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns. The injury bug is just absolutely menacing, like you said. With
they don't have a quarterback. That's something. If they can get a quarterback this year in the draft, they're going to be.
And Arian Foster too. Although he has been efficient, he still has been bit by the injury bug this year.
Every week it seems like he's either has something that's making him linger or. Oh, I agree. 9-7 for Houston for me.
All right, 8-8. So last division. Let's kind of keep this one relatively quick. The AFC West. We have the Denver Broncos, San Diego Chargers, and Kansas City Chiefs all vying for playoff spots. What do you think in terms of seeding in that division?
I have Denver winning out 13-3. I think you'll see this week in the picks. It's a good thing for Peyton. He finally is going to be able to throw the ball in some warm weather in San Diego. He clearly struggles when it comes to throwing it in the cold, the wind, all of that. So being in San Diego is going to be good for him. Going on down next, San Diego, I have them finishing it out 10-6. They're going to lose to the Broncos. I think they'll beat the 49ers because the 49ers are just falling apart completely. And I think they'll beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I have them only winning one game, and that will be against the Raiders, and then they're going to lose to the Steelers and the Chargers. What say you?
Right now, I'm going to go same thing. I'm going to go basically the same picks. I got Denver going 13-3. The San Diego Chargers are going to put up a good fight against the Denver Broncos. However, the Broncos offense just knows how to work in key situations. So I'm going to go with the Broncos on that one. So I got San Diego going 10-6. The Kansas City Chiefs without safety Eric Berry. A few pieces missing in that puzzle. I have to question whether or not Jamal Charles is 100%. He did leave last week's game with an ankle injury in the first quarter. So I'm going to say Chiefs are going to go 2-1 to finish, 1-2 to finish out the season. They're going to beat the Oakland Raiders, lose to Pittsburgh and San Diego. So in terms of seeding right now, I've got the New England Patriots number 1, Denver, number 2. So those two getting a bye. I got Indy playing Pittsburgh, and I got Baltimore, San Diego.
So you have Indy 3rd,
Pittsburgh
Baltimore 4th.
Yep.
Pittsburgh 6th, and who?
San
5th?
Diego, number 5.
5. Yes, we have pretty similar. I have New England number 1, number 2. I have Denver. Then I have Pittsburgh at number 3. Indianapolis at number 4. They have the same record, but Pittsburgh beat Indy in the regular season, so they'll get that tiebreaker. Then at 5, I have San Diego, and 6, I have Cleveland.
You have the Cleveland Browns making the playoffs,
Well, because I had them winning out. Like I said, it could be completely wrong with Money Manziel there, but you never know.
All right, so that does it for AFC seeding, Josh.
Yeah.
What's next on tap, guys?
All right, next on tap is your picks of the week for the upcoming week. Of course, first of all, in the first game of the week will be the Arizona Cardinals taking on the St. Louis Rams. Now, of course, what do you guys have to say about that?
The Arizona Cardinals and the St. Louis Rams. The Rams are favored by 4 in that one at home.
Yes, they are favored by 4 for the Rams at home, plus 4 on the spread.
You know what? I got to go with the St. Louis Rams on this one. The Arizona Cardinals offense is not what I expect it to be, and this St. Louis Rams defensive front is just going to stop, whether it be, Kevin Williams, Stephon Taylor, in that backfield. Drew Stanton is going to have to rely on looking to Larry Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd downfield more. I just don't see it happening. I'm going to take the Rams. I like the 4 points. I'm going to go with the Rams with the 4.
I completely agree there. The Cardinals have the Seahawks and the 49ers after this game, so they could definitely be looking ahead. This is not their biggest game kind of thing, especially with Seahawks next week. And the St. Louis defense, they've just been killing it, allowing 0 points in the last 2 games. It was against Oakland and Washington, but still allowing 0 points in the NFL is a huge thing. Ever since Sean Hill's been in, they're 3-1.
And you know what? Sean Hill's another guy that is not a slouch when it comes to being a good starting quarterback. You saw what he was able to do with the San Francisco 49ers a couple years ago when he had to step in for an injured Alex Smith. The Detroit Lions love Sean Hill because he was able to find Calvin Johnson on numerous occasions.
He's a smart quarterback.
Very smart quarterback. He's a seasoned veteran. And
he might not have the throw power, but he doesn't force it into places. He's making proper decisions.
He's efficient, and he's more efficient than Austin Davis. I like the St. Louis Rams. What's next?
Well, first I have they've also, to add to that point, St. Louis, they beat Denver 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and they only held them to 7 points. It's huge. The way that they're playing is just, it's great. I don't know how it would come out with playoff seeding. I don't even know if they have a chance. I don't think they do. But they're going to make a strong push to the end of the season, trying to get that last spot.
The St. Louis Rams are not to be trifled with. That is for sure.
Yep.
All right, next up is the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the favorites with a 2.5 spread. What are your guys' thoughts?
I'm going to start off this one, and I'm going to like Pittsburgh in this. Julio Jones might be hurt. However, he is resilient. He is a big, tough, physical receiver, so I like I'm going to bank on the fact that he is going to play. Le'Veon Bell has been absolutely phenomenal for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is a great all-purpose back, and Atlanta is a team that really needs to stuff the run in order to be successful on defense. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh. I'm going to say Pittsburgh favored by 5. I'm going to double that spread.
Yeah, I agree completely with everything you said. I think the fact, like I said last week, Pittsburgh's been, or like I said last week with the line telling me something, Pittsburgh's on the road going into Atlanta. I know Atlanta's not really that great of a team. They put up a decent effort against Green Bay last week. I think just the fact of that was such a huge game for them. Now going to face Pittsburgh, it's still a big game. Well, I don't know why I just said Chiefs. Atlanta hasn't been consistent in any way at all season. So, yeah, I'm going Pittsburgh minus 2.5.
All right, what's next?
Next up, the Washington Redskins and the New York Jets. The favorites are the Giants. New York Giants, pardon me.
Hey, no worries.
Not the Jets.
They're both from New York.
The favorites are the Giants, 6.5 on the spread. Of course, RG3, I believe, is starting this week. What are you guys' thoughts on this game?
This one was really hard for me just because of the spread of the Giants minus 6.5. I have the Giants winning this game. Odell Beckham has just been insane for them. It's too bad Cruz went out, because to see the two of them on the field at the same time, it could be a different Giants team that we'd be looking at. Deshaun Jackson's hurt, and they have a lot of issues in-house with their coaching, the quarterback, the owner. Everything for the Redskins is kind of just falling apart all at once. I have definitely a hard time doing this, like I said, but I'm going Giants minus 6.5.
You're going, I don't know. If RG3 does start, I think and this is a little bit off topic, but I honestly think he's been bullied in that system. Jay Gruden came into Washington thinking that he was going to mold RG3 into this different type of player. You just can't do that. Jay Gruden likes the traditional pocket passing quarterback. He's not used to a guy that can run like RG3. RG3's been hindered by injuries all year. I think he's a very good quarterback. A little bit off topic, but still, I think RG3 being at quarterback does not or kind of affects this spread a little bit. I'm going to take the Giants just because that Washington defense is absolutely horrible.
Yep.
The secondary is getting burned on numerous occasions. We even saw in the game against the Minnesota Vikings how Teddy Bridgewater was able to march down the field and, hook up with a bunch of nobodies. Odell Beckham's going to go off. He's part of this phenomenal rookie wave of wide receivers. Another 100-plus yards receiving last week. So I'm going to go with the New York Giants. However, I'm going to trim the spread down to 3. I'm going to go Giants by 3.
By 3?
I'm going to go with the tie. Yeah.
And to add to your point, too, with Robert Griffin, it's hard to come off such a big injury and then have your offensive coordinator change, your whole offensive playbook changed, be told you have to play differently. It's not. He goes from the rookie MVP, and then he gets hurt. He has a change in scheme, change in all that kind of stuff. It's hard for him to switch. So I don't believe that they should have taken him away. I think they need to give him time to mold. And the fact that you're hearing that they're looking to trade him away for a mid-round pick that's insane to me. They gave up so much for him.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And I can remember back, and I'm gonna, I was living in Windsor. I used to listen to 97.1 The Ticket all the time with Mike Valeni and Terry Foster. And one of the segments is when the ACL injury happened against the Seattle Seahawks. And, the question was out there, do you think Mike Shanahan should have pulled RG3? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think the Seahawks, or do you think the Redskins would have won the Super Bowl? Not at gunpoint. But you had to conserve this guy's leg. You had to conserve his future.
He rehurt it in that game. Yeah,
and, so that was... I think that was a stupid move by Mike Shanahan at the time. However, that's in the past, but it's definitely affected the career now of RG3.
All right, so the next game coming up is the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots. Pardon me, it's a rough day today.
Hey, you know what, Justin? You're in there, and you're making us happy. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on this? Tom Brady versus Tannehill here.
I'm gonna go Tom Brady. I like Tom Brady. New England favored by 7.5. Yeah, I can see it. The Miami Dolphins snuck one out against New England in Miami earlier in the season. I think the New England Patriots are hungry. I think great coaches make great adjustments. Bill Belichick is a great coach. He is going to make the proper adjustments. Yeah, I like New England in 7.5 points. Miami needs a win to make the playoffs, but they're losing out, so tough luck.
Yeah, I think that I agree. I think New England's going to win. We give them the minus 7.5. This is a complete different team than Miami played at the beginning of the season. The Patriots were struggling a little bit. They finally got Gronk at 100% after his injury. The other thing that doesn't help is having a team from Florida going into New England in the cold.
Welcome to Foxborough.
Yeah, that doesn't help at all. It's New England's biggest game of the rest of the season. They have the Jets and the Bills after this, so they're going to give their all every week anyway. But yeah, I have New England minus 7.5.
All right, now next matchup is the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. Favorites are the Chiefs, minus 10.5 on the spread. What are your guys' thoughts here on this matchup here?
I'm going to take this one, and I am going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs on this one. I'm not going to take the 10.5 spread. However, I am going to go with the Chiefs by 5. I think that, you know what? Oakland, they might have beaten the San Francisco 49ers in a team that is having an offensive crisis right now. I don't think Oakland is as good as last week it made them out to be. Latavius Murray has been absolutely ridiculous for him. He's definitely a great piece to that offense, especially as a kind of a nice just a refreshing start. You're not hindered by these old veteran running backs and Darren McFadden and Maurice Jones-Drew. You have a fresh young face that can come in, be a almost Bo Jackson-like player, and make a difference. So I'm gonna go the Kansas City Chiefs by 4.5.
4.5. I'm also going to go Kansas City. I don't think that they will cover the spread. I think Oakland is now the team at the end of the year. Oakland, all the bottom seed teams are the teams that teams are going to look ahead to other games. San Francisco did that. They didn't think Oakland was a concern, and then that's what happens. They go in and they lose the game completely. I agree with you. I think Kansas City will win by maybe a touchdown, but 10 points, that's too much for me.
Yeah, 10 points is definitely not where I think it should be. What's next, Justin?
The next game coming up here, the Houston Texans in the Indianapolis Colts. What are you guys' thoughts here? Superstar J.J. Watt versus quarterback Andrew Luck.
See, I'm not a big believer in this Andrew Luck hype. I know he's a great quarterback. I just believe he throws way too many picks in such key times. Last year in the playoffs, you saw him play against the Chiefs. He threw 3 or 4 picks in the first half. They were down by some huge amount. He brought them back, but you can't, if you're going to be thought of as one of the best quarterbacks, you can't be making those simple mistakes constantly. Andre Johnson likely out with concussion for this game, so the team is going to rely heavily on the run. They should be able to move down the field with Arian Foster. It's going to be a close game coming down to the final minutes. I got Indy winning, but Houston is going to get the plus 6.5.
I was about to say, you don't have Indy winning that game. And you know what? You want to talk about Andrew Luck a little bit. 4,305 passing yards in the season. 36 touchdowns passing, a total of 39 touchdowns. The only thing that concerns me is he has lost 6 fumbles this year, and a lot of it has just been miscommunications with Trent Richardson. I think the defensive line is going to pose as a threat in the first half. Andrew Luck's going to figure his stuff out, make the Houston Texans pay in the second half. Like I said, I have the Indianapolis Colts going 11-5. So I really think that it's going to be the Colts game right here. I like the 6.5. I might even go higher, but I think I'm gonna keep it at 6.5. Stay conservative.
I think Andrew Luck, he's gonna be that guy that has those numbers that they're throwing the ball out. He throws really well. He's accurate, but it's just those key situations he throws to me at least. He throws some questionable balls to the other team that it's going to hurt them.
I think only 13 picks on the season. I can see what you're talking about. Obviously, the interception numbers are on the kind of lower echelon. It's not like a guy like even Joe Flacco.
It's the key games that I'm saying.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from. I just don't think it's gonna be that big of a problem. I think it's gonna be the offensive line against J.J. Watt to see who is more dominant. But I still like the Colts.
All right, the next matchup, the Cincinnati Bengals and Johnny Manziel and the Cleveland Browns. With this team right now in this matchup coming up, what are your picks for this matchup?
Well, you know my thought. Money Manziel, baby. I love it. I think Johnny Football is going to come in. I think he's going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. I think it's not even going to be close. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns, obviously. I'm going to say Cleveland at home by I'm going to say 7.5.
7.5. Yeah, I can see. I'm going Cleveland as well. I said earlier, Cincinnati hasn't beaten anyone good this year. They did beat Cleveland in a close game earlier in the season. I think just Manziel being on the field is going to fire Cleveland up. Josh Gordon's going to have more chances to get open. I have Cleveland winning. I don't know if I would go as much as 7, but I'd go -5.
Okay. So, yeah, we got the Browns in that one.
All right, so Jaguars and the Ravens. The favorite is the Ravens big time. 13.5 on the spread.
Wow. Wow, that's... It is like a college line, but still college lines are like 32. I'm going to go... Obviously, the Ravens, I think, are going to win this game. 13.5. You know what? I've played a little bit of pro line in my day. I'm usually good with picking large spreads, so I'll take the 13.5 spread. I like the 13.5.
I see. I have written down. Well, Jacksonville sucks. First of all, 31st on offense, 27th on defense. They're last in points scored. That alone, last in points scored, just 13.5 doesn't seem as much when you think about last in points. So I'm going Baltimore minus 13.5.
And you know what? I can see where you're coming from with the Jacksonville side of things. They do play some pretty tough games. They hang around teams. They scare some people. You can call them the cardiac cats, if you will. But you're right. That offense, it's very young. And I think very young is an understatement. Marquise Lee has come in, and he's starting to be more of a threat on that offense. Still no touchdowns for him on the season. Allen Robinson, Allen Hearns, a class of rookie wide receivers. So, you know what? I see where you're going with this. Do I think they suck? Meh. I think there are worse teams. I think the Titans are way worse. But, I think, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think they look they're looking promising for the future because of their young guys, but they're still a few dynamic players away from being anything respectable.
All right, now the Green Bay Packers are taking on the Buffalo Bills on the road this week. They are the favorites, though, at -5 on the spread. What are your guys' thoughts here? This could be an interesting matchup.
Green Bay's just been basically dominating everyone they played. They were up 31-7 at halftime against the Falcons, so people that were looking from the outside, seeing that final score, the Falcons being closer, the final score didn't show what kind of game it really was. They kind of let off the gas after halftime, knowing that they had the game in the bag. It's going to be cold in Buffalo. Where's more cold than Green Bay, though?
Yeah.
They're fine. Green Bay -5.
I think whoever made this a 5-point spread should be, fired from Bodog for sniffing glue on the job. No, seriously, it's 5 points? Really? The Green Bay Packers have proven to be the most dominant offense in the NFL as of late. To give them 5 points at Buffalo, of all places, Buffalo.
I think it's because Buffalo is home and they have a decent defense. They've been able to put pressure on people, but
this is Aaron Rodgers we're talking about. This is a team that has just come out and dismantled the Dallas Cowboys. They dismantled the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons made a game of it late. Julio Jones, tremendous one-man effort on offense. Couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to go -10.
-10. This could be a thing where the line's telling us something, too, and we're just avoiding it, that they're trying to tell us that maybe Green Bay shouldn't be favored by as much for whatever reason. Maybe look-ahead game and something, I don't know, but I can't go against Green Bay
You know
ever,
what?
So.
They're still battling for a playoff position with the Detroit Lions. If they're looking ahead to bigger and better things, cool.
Yeah.
But, you still got to take it one game at a time, and knowing how much of a gamer Aaron Rodgers is in this situation, he's going to want to beat this team and bury them to prove
Yeah, they want that first place in the conference.
Well, after that laugh, what's next?
All right, what's next? Tampa Bay and Carolina. In some places, it's still a 4.5 spread for Carolina. But, of course, Derek Anderson will be starting this week and not Cam Newton because the car accident that happened yesterday. So what are your thoughts on this game with Cam Newton not making the start?
To me, if you can get it with Carolina favored by -4.5, I would go Tampa Bay 100% with a +4.5. Derek Anderson coming in late to an offense that already only has Kelvin Benjamin, and that's it. Cam Newton had a hard time passing to anybody. They really don't have anybody. I'd be going with Tampa Bay.
I got to disagree. I'm going to go with Carolina. Derek Anderson is a veteran quarterback. He has made some pretty key starts in his career. And you know what? You just brought up one name that just kind of seals the deal for me. Kelvin Benjamin, the rookie wide receiver. And what he's been able to do in the league right now has just been phenomenal. I think it's going to be Derek Anderson to Kelvin Benjamin. Benjamin with 848 yards and 9 touchdowns on the season. You're kind of coming to an offense which has more of a pocket passing style, quarterback in it. Is Derek Anderson going to have to learn the playbook in, 3 days? Yeah. Does he know the playbook? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be easy. I'm going to take Carolina by 6.
By 6.
By 6. Tampa Bay's awful.
If you're looking at the same thing though, if Carolina only has Kelvin Benjamin, but Tampa Bay has Mike Evans, who's probably been the rookie MVP this year so far.
It's arguable, and you know what? I think you make a valid argument. You want to make wide receiver comparisons because I know they also have Vincent Jackson.
Yeah.
However, that Tampa Bay Bucks defense is among the last in the NFL. And I think no matter who you put against it, obviously I'm not a big seller on the Detroit Lions offense. Do I think it's better than the Carolina Panthers? Absolutely. But I think Carolina, especially after the shellacking they gave the Saints at the Superdome, I think they're going to be riding a hot streak. Not having their star quarterback is going to hurt them. Don't think
Maybe it'll make the rest of their team play harder.
Tampa Bay's 2-11.
Yeah.
Come on, it's got to be. it's
Carolina's only 4-8-1 though. They're
Yeah,
not 2 games better. Crappy division. They play these crappy teams. I don't know.
Well, that'll be.
It's the toilet bowl. So
I'm
it
gonna
doesn't
say
matter.
I'm gonna say this is my lock of the week. I'm gonna say Carolina by 6.
Carolina by 6.
All right.
All right, now the Jets are taking on what you consider one of you guys. I forget which one. Tennessee is the worst team in the NFL.
Just lost
As-
Zach Mettenberger for the entire year.
Yes, they have the Jets as the favorite 1.5 on the spread. So, what do you guys think of this game?
Honestly, you want my honest opinion? I think this game's irrelevant. I think this is a great, feeder for the Sunday football sports nut. I think we're gonna go with the LOL Bowl of the week, as dubbed by some. Nice. You know what? Jake Lockhart is gonna hook up with Delaney Walker at least twice in the end zone. I'm gonna go with Tennessee in this one. I think Tennessee is the worst team in the league, but I just have a feeling. The Jets are. I mean, come on. It is the worst. This is gonna be just the Mr. Irrelevant of the games this week.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go Tennessee with the win.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet this game
To hell
because
with
both teams
Sure.
you don't know who's gonna come out. The Jets have been so close, like almost every single week it seems like to pulling out a win, and they just can't. For the fact, like I put in here, if I had a gun to my head and had to choose, I'd choose the Jets, but choosing them on the road, I wouldn't bet this game.
The Jets have made so many questionable moves on that team or with that team over the past 2 years. What's the sense? I mean, I don't think it's Rex Ryan's fault.
No,
I really
it's crazy
don't.
to me that he gets them to come out and play hard every single game. It seems
Absolutely.
like they just don't have any talent on the team.
Absolutely. And, you lost your key DB and D. Milner, and you're relying on guys like Michael Vick, who, past the dogfighting scandal, he has not proven to be Michael Vick. People have figured him out. He is not the same man that once donned an Atlanta Falcons jersey.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's not. Geno Smith needs more time in that offense. Do I think he's
They
there?
don't have receivers. They don't have a running game. They don't have anything.
They have a lot of guys who are past their prime.
Yeah.
Eric Decker was made to look good by Peyton Manning. This is a team that is terrible.
They get rid of their best player in Revis because they think he's going to be hurt. They get rid of Cromartie. Their defense.
Their defense
suffered.
lacks. Curtis Lofton's gone as well.
Yes.
He was a big part in their offense. I think the only thing you have going for you right now is your star offensive lineman in DeBrickashaw Ferguson, and even he's been very questionable. So I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I think Jake Locker has been a starter. They wanted him to be the starter last year. Him and Delaney Walker, big day. What's next?
What's next is Denver and San Diego. Denver has the favorite with the -4 spread. What are you guys' thoughts here? Peyton Manning versus Philip Rivers here.
I have Denver with the -4. I think Peyton Manning he struggles in the cold, struggles in the wind. You notice that every year in the playoffs, people think it's just playoff quarterback Peyton. He can't get it done, but really it's when he's in the cold. Last year in the Super Bowl, for example, they're in New York. It's cold out. He plays terrible. Last week the Bills came close to coming back. He makes too many picks. He doesn't have the arm strength to get it when it's windy out, kind of thing. So, but they're in San Diego. So, Merry Christmas, Peyton Manning. I got C.J. Anderson. He's been such an improvement to their running game. I think they should easily win this one.
I don't think C.J. Anderson's going to be the big deal. I'm going to take the Denver Broncos. This is actually going to be my double down pick of the week. I'm going to go the Denver Broncos by 8. In San Diego, Peyton Manning has been Peyton Manning. I mean, what more can you say? I think the run defense is going to be great for San Diego. They're going to make Peyton Manning throw the ball more, and that's not something you want to do. Peyton Manning's going to find ways to open up the holes and torch you with C.J. Anderson. If not, it's going to be Juwan Thompson. So this is a team that can make any running back look like a star.
They have Julius Thomas coming back this week. It's looking like he dressed last week, but he didn't play at all. He's probably going to be coming back this week. Demarius Thomas, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if he's going to be playing or if they're just holding him out a practice for to let him rest a little bit.
Yeah, but I can see it just being a little bit of a tune-up. I'm going to go, like I said, double down pick of the week.
Yeah.
Denver Broncos over the San Diego Chargers.
Agreed.
All right, now the Minnesota Vikings are taking on the Detroit Lions this week. There was some news from earlier today that tight end Farah is out for the season with an ankle injury, and they have activated another tight end as Detroit is still the favorites either way by 7.5 on the spread. What are your thoughts here on this matchup?
Joseph Fourier has been the guy who has gotten a lot of the red zone targets. He's not their best red zone weapon. He's definitely not their worst.
He's their best dancer. Do you see that touchdown dance?
The
twerk?
The twerk. Yeah, he had to apologize on Twitter for that one. No, I believe they activated Kellen Davis.
Yes, they activated Kellen Davis.
And he had some time in Chicago before he went to Detroit, so he definitely has some red zone experience with him. I'm not saying he's a fantasy pickup by any means, but I think he can do a job if you sleep on him. This is going to open up a lot of opportunity for a guy like Eric Ebron. So I'm going to load up on Ebron if you can for playoffs. Do I like Detroit with the 7.5 against Minnesota? No. I don't like it because Detroit is a team that plays teams in their division very tough. And, that NFC North division is a toss-up no matter who you play. So I'm going to say I like Detroit, not by the 7.5. I'm going to go by Detroit by 2.5.
I like Detroit with the -7.5. I think that their offense is getting better now. That they got Reggie Bush back. Like we said last week, it wasn't that big of a deal. He didn't do much. Calvin Johnson's healthy. He's getting the ball thrown. He's getting some good touchdowns. Their defense is stopping everybody they play for the most part. They need this win if they want to make the playoffs. I think this is such a huge game for them, way more than it is for Minnesota. I think the bright spot for Minnesota is that it's weird. They take Jarius Wright and put him in place of Cordero Patterson, and Jarius Wright has just been killing. He has, I think it was 4.39 speed his 40 coming out of college. He's like 6'4" or something like that.
Jarius Wright?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jarius Wright's a freak athlete, and so is Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson coming out of the University of Tennessee. I think, these are two teams, and you're right. It has to be a battle of who is the true number one. Who is the true number one receiver? Detroit definitely will make it hard for him, for Minnesota to get anything going. However, I don't think that Teddy Bridgewater I think Teddy Bridgewater is a team that, Teddy Bridgewater is a team, Josh. Teddy Bridgewater is a player that can make things happen with his feet and kind of, move the pocket, find open receivers. I like Minnesota to make this a closer game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. All right, we're going to go San Francisco at Seattle. Josh, what do you got there?
I got Seattle with the -10. San Francisco's a mess. Lose to Oakland Raiders last week. I know it could have been, like we say, a look-ahead game, but Seattle is just dominating everybody they play. Their defense is just amazing.
Is speechless,
yeah,
apparently.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, Seattle's got a great defense. Bobby Wagner's back. Richard Sherman, is... A lot of people have mixed feelings about Richard Sherman. My take on Richard Sherman is he is a very intellectual player. He's a very intellectual person, intelligent player. Mm-hmm. Do you think he knows what he's doing? Of course he knows what he's doing with the mind games. He wants people to realize that he is in your head. He is getting the better of your game psychologically.
He makes people not even want to look at him.
Exactly.
He gets into their head. Yeah.
And I think this is a team that's going to make Colin Kaepernick look like Jamarcus Russell. I think Frank Gore is going to get hurt. I hope so that Carlos Hyde can get some more touches on the fantasy team.
You hope somebody gets hurt.
No, I don't. I don't hope anybody gets hurt. But I think Frank Gore will be neutralized for lack of a better word. Carlos Hyde, fantasy. Oh yeah, it's all about fantasy playoffs. We're just a couple of fanboys in here, folks. And I think. Do I like Seattle with the 10? Yeah, I like Seattle with the 10. At home, 12th man on the field. Boom.
you look at last week or 2 weeks ago, Seattle just dominated 49ers in San Francisco. 19-3. So I don't see San Francisco having a chance, especially in Seattle.
All right, what do we got next, Justin?
All right, up next, one more thing before we go to up next. I think the defense going on right now that for San Francisco wishes Sherman was a cutout. But anyway, the Cowboys and the Eagles are playing as the Eagles are the favorites, 3.5. What is your opinion here on this game here?
Well, this is a revenge game for Dallas. Since they played 2 weeks ago, they've been looking to this game saying how they can't wait to play them again. They can't wait. They played last Thursday, so they have that extra few days going for them. I think Philadelphia is the better team. It could just be the fact that I'm an Eagles fan. I think the Eagles are going to win, but maybe by like a point. I do not. I take the Dallas plus 3.5. And it's hard for me to say it because I hate Dallas.
Well, I'm glad you're sticking to your journalistic integrity and, looking at both sides of the coin. However, I have to, again, I'm not feeding your ego, but the Philadelphia Eagles are hungry. They are hungry. They know one got away from them against the Seattle Seahawks. They're now tied with Dallas for the division lead in the NFC East. Yeah, Dallas wants this game, but so do the Eagles.
And it's at home.
It's at home. It's, it's in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to go more than the 3.5 points. I'm going to say that LaShawn McCoy has a field day. Mark Sanchez is going to get it done. Tony Romo is going to crack. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in December. The Cowboys are falling off the wagon.
Let's hope
Boom.
so. If you're from the outside and you're looking in on the game last week too, with the Seattle Seahawks played really, really well. The Eagles offense couldn't do much out there, but if you look at this, even the final score of the game, the Eagles defense kept them in that game the entire time. It was one pick six away. Malcolm Jenkins jumped a route, hit him right in the chest, dropped it. He was gone to the house if he would have got it. That would have put him down by 3 with like 8 minutes to go. It would have been a lot closer of a game. Not saying that they could have won, but their defense is somehow keeping them in the game.
It's one of the best teams. They rank in the top 15 against the pass. They are second best, they're 12th against the rush, and believe it's 5th against the pass in the NFL right now. Teams do not want to run into this Philadelphia Eagles defense. That is for sure. The offense, on the other hand, I like it because LaShawn McCoy has been lackluster. Obviously, he went out and he wanted to prove to people that he was the same guy he was last year. He ain't the real Slim Shady. That's for sure. Not this year. Mark Sanchez, is he a true number 1 quarterback? Absolutely not. But he's the best they got right now.
I was the number 1 Sanchez supporter at the beginning of the season when I saw Foles start to play. I just felt like Foles wanted to run backwards and then throw off his back foot constantly, miss open receivers, not take the chances and everything. But then, so I was like, Sanchez is our savior. Sanchez is our savior. He comes in, and I was happy for a little bit. I don't know if it was just last week that kind of made me scared or whatever, but it's clear that the Eagles don't have some dominant quarterback out there.
Are they a Super Bowl contender? No.
I don't think they.
Do I think they can make the playoffs and maybe go to a championship game? Sure.
Top 4 teams: New England, Denver, Seattle, and Green Bay. I don't think the Eagles can beat any of those teams.
All right, what do we got next, Justin?
The last game of the week
not least.
is the New Orleans Saints taking on the Chicago Bears. The favorite
Bears
is the Saints. -3 on the spread for the Saints. What are you guys' take on this game?
The Bears. The Bears are going to win this game. Ladies and gentlemen, my upset of the week. We're going to take Chicago. I'm going to go Chicago -4 at home. I don't like what the New Orleans Saints are doing right now. I think that Sean Payton has to figure things out. We talked about it earlier in the show. I think that this team is just bad. Unless you give Jimmy Graham more targets, you're not gonna do anything. I think it's gonna be the same thing. Chicago is gonna key in on Jimmy Graham. They're gonna make Drew Brees throw the ball to Kenny Stills. It's gonna be a Chicago win. The Saints defense horrible. You're gonna bench Kenny Vaccaro. Who's gonna be over the top helping Alshon Jeffrey and and Martellus Bennett? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. San Antonio Holmes is gonna get some looks now that Brandon Marshall's out. So I like the Bears in this one, Justin.
See, to me, this is a game where you don't know what team's going to show up for both of the teams, so it could go either way. With Brandon Marshall out, I think that hurts the Bears, obviously. And you never know how this meetings that Sean Payton had. It's something like 20 people went into his office, and he had to talk to them about what they were doing and what he wanted to change. So maybe it's going to get them all fired up. Maybe it's going to backfire, and they're going to play horrible. You never know. I'm going to go New Orleans with a 3. A road favorite. It's hard to pick, but that's my say.
All right, that's all our matchups for this week for the picks of the week. Josh, do you want to wrap things up? Yeah, all right. Like I said at the beginning of the show, there's a few different ways to get a hold of the show. Twitter @TheJDFP, emailing thejdfp@gmail.com, commenting on this video on YouTube or iTunes. You can search the Josh Dupuis Football Podcast. For Mike and Justin, I'm Josh Dupuis. Thanks for listening.